Today's lesson is on counting combinations, and it covers pages 188 and 189. Questions 1, 2, and 3 all follow the same set of directions, so I will do question 1 with you to kind of show you how it works. So the overall instructions at the top ask you to answer parts A and B and then write the list of combinations you can make with spinning the color and the number. So for part A, it asks you how many outcomes are on the second spinner. So it's just going in order. This is the first spinner, this is the second. So the options are 1, 2, and 3, so there are 3 outcomes on the second spinner. This means that when we answer the first question, how many times should Mickey write B for blue, Y for yellow, and R for red on his list? He is going to write each of those 3 times, because however many options or outcomes we have in the second spinner is how many times we should write the options for the first spinner. So that number should always stay the same. So I'm going to write B, 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 Y, 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 R, R, R. And you can separate these with lines if you would like, so that it's easier to see. Then our second step is we're going to write the second spinner's options underneath. So we could spin a blue and then a 1, a blue and a 2, a blue and a 3, a yellow 1, yellow 2, yellow 3, red 1, red 2, red 3. So this is the list of all the combinations. That's why we put each of those colors 3 times. So altogether, there are 9 outcomes. Okay, so for each of those, questions A and B should have the same answer, and so it's the second spinner that tells you how many times to write the first spinner's options on that top row. The next 3 questions give you a variety of scenarios. So for question 4, if you flip a coin, there are 2 outcomes, heads and tails. List all the outcomes for flipping a coin and spinning the spinner. So your first option is the coin. So you need to write heads, however many outcomes there are in the spinner, and tails for however many outcomes there are in the spinner, and then put those spinner options for each of them, right? So it's the same thing as before, but now instead our first option is just a 2 outcome of heads and tails with a coin instead of a different spinner. For question 5, we have Peter, and he has a quarter and a dime in his left pocket and a dime and a nickel in his right pocket. He pulls 1 coin from each pocket. So they want you to list all the combinations and then their values when you add them up. So if they're asking you to start with the right pocket, you have to go, okay, for the right pocket, he could pull a dime, and then in the left pocket, he could pull a dime and a quarter or a dime and a dime. So you need both of those written down. Then he could pull out a nickel and a quarter, a nickel and a dime. Make sure those are both listed, and then you're just adding up the values, right? So if you had a quarter and a dime, it's 35 cents. Question 6 has Claire choosing from activities at art camp. So this time we're writing lists of combinations instead of trees. This is a very similar question to the type we had yesterday. So in the morning, her choices are painting or music, and in the afternoon, her options are drama, pottery, or dance. She makes a chart so she can see all of her choices, and she starts by writing each of her morning choices 3 times. So they ask you to complete the chart to show all of her choices. So for painting, beside each of them, you need one of the afternoon ones, right? Drama, pottery, dance. And we'd repeat again for music. Why did Claire write each of her morning choices 3 times? Well, she needed 3 options to match up with the second column, right? So just however you choose to articulate that. Questions 7, 8, and 9 are all shaded, so that means that they're questions you can do in your notebook because they don't give you space on the page. So we'll be making our own charts. I can speak the English. Number 7 is going to ask you to make a chart to show all the combinations of activities at a camp. So for the morning, there's swimming or tennis. In the afternoon, there's canoeing, baseball, or hiking. So remember, The number of afternoon choices tells you how many times you need to write swimming and how many times you need to write tennis so that you have spaces to match each of them up with it. For question 8, you're recording all the scores you could get by throwing 2 darts at the dartboard. Assume both darts land on the board. So your first dart could land on 5, 10, or 15, so you have 3 options. Your second dart could land on 5, 10, or 15. So make sure that you have the kind of number of outcomes that you need to have 3 choices for your first dart and 3 choices for your second dart. Then they ask which combinations give the same score, so you need to add them up, right? So if you land on 5 and 5, that's 10. If you land on 5 and 15, that's 20. The final question is about a tetrahedral dice, which has 4 vertices numbered from 1 to 4. So if you notice all around each corner, it has the same number. So the 2s are all on the ends, they'll match up at the top. When you roll this die, there's always a vertex on top. Make a chart to show all the combinations for rolling a pair of tetrahedral dice. So both of them will have the same numbers. So how many outcomes do you have for the first die? How many outcomes do you have for the second one? And then write your chart to accommodate all of those. There will be a Google form in the assignment when you are finished.